So we're going to start with this cute, fun and easy little beadable pen. So I've included 2 beads, a spacer, and then also a charm that we're going to attach to this as well. So the first thing that we need to do is unscrew the pen. You can either do so by the top, which you'll see I'm doing here, or you can use the middle piece, which is a little more tricky because you do have to hold it down in order to get it off. So for mine, I'm just going to stack 1 bead, and then I'm going to use my spacer, and then I'm going to add my other bead, and then I'm going to add my charm extender, and then screw the top back on so that it's nice and tight. So with the bead extender that was included, you're just going to use the little jump ring, attach your charm to it, and then you'll just simply loop the jump ring through the extender and then clamp that down together, and then that's it. Super easy and customizable and a fun little add-on for any project. So for our journals, I did decide to use acrylic pieces instead of using an epoxy mold because it does take quite a bit less epoxy, and I feel that these are a little bit more stable than the actual epoxy is. So I'm just going to start by mixing up my 10 milliliters, each part A and B epoxy, and then mix that really well, and then we're going to start with 1 at a time. So I'm going to add my glitter directly into my epoxy, and then I'm also going to add my mica into that mix as well. With the clear acrylic blanks, if you just use your glitter, you'll see whenever you pull the paper backing off that it kind of leaves more of an open space, whereas with the mica mixed in, it does kind of give it more of a full look. So I'm just going to spread that all over. Like I said, we're just doing 1 at a time here, so I'm just going to spread that over the entire notebook cover and then just make sure obviously not to get it in the holes. So with my extra epoxy here, I did use the rest of it on the second notebook cover. However, it wasn't as thick of a coat, but we're going to go over that again anyway. So I just made sure that I got it as much as I could, and then I used my torch to pop any of those micro bubbles. So for the front of my notebook cover, I wanted it to stand out more than the back. So what I did here is I'm just dropping alcohol directly onto the wet epoxy, and then I'm going to use a toothpick and drag that across diagonally to give it that look. So I decided to sprinkle on the precious metals just because it gives it an extra shimmer, an extra add-on, and I did that to both sides here. It's really not super noticeable, but it does give it kind of an extra golden shimmer. Now we just want to let that cure. So once that's cured, and it's important to note here as well too, to keep the paper backing on. We don't want to remove that until the very end, so that way no epoxy or anything else gets stuck to the clear acrylic on that. So now I'm just taking some tack-it and I'm doing a very small amount and just kind of brushing that on where I want my foil to stick. So I am doing it in the same pattern that I did my alcohol ink in, just to kind of match those up. So I'm just using a small amount of tack-it. I'm going to make sure that that is fully brushed in, and then I'm going to use a heat gun just to quickly make sure that it is cured, and then I'm going to lay down my foil and then just pull it straight up. So for my vinyl, this time I am using, instead of tack-it, I am using Southern Belle's adhesive, and I personally like this adhesive more. It does dry quicker, and I find that it does work better as far as getting the foil to actually stick. So I am just applying the adhesive directly onto my 651 vinyl. This is just a plain piece of black vinyl that I have cut out, and then I am going to let this dry, and I'm going to use the heat gun just to speed up that process. Then I'm just going to take my sheet of my adhesive, I'm going to lay it directly on top of the vinyl, and then I'm going to remove that just by lifting it up. Then I'll just run my design through my cutting machine as I normally would, and then we'll weed it. Now you can also do this the inverse way. If you wanted to cut out your design and then apply your adhesive and then go ahead and weed your vinyl, you can definitely do that. You just want to make sure that you apply the adhesive before you weed it. My machine had no problem cutting through this vinyl. The only thing that I would recommend is just making sure that if you do it this way, that you clean off your blade afterwards, just to make sure that none of the adhesive or the residue got stuck on your blade. So for this step here, because I was worried about the transfer tape peeling off the foil when I transferred it, I did do a thin layer of quick coat and then I waited for that to dry and then I used my transfer tape. However, I will say if you use a lighter transfer tape like I use here for contact paper, it's not really necessary to seal it with quick coat first. If you are planning on using a stronger transfer tape like Cricut transfer tape, for example, is very sticky, then I would definitely recommend sealing it first because likely it will pull the foil off. Then I'm just going to apply it directly to the front page of my notebook cover, and then there's no need to let it dry, so we're going to move right on to epoxy. So again, I'm mixing up 10 milliliters each part A and B. I am using Fast Set here from Counterculture. We're going to mix that up, and then same thing as we did before, we're going to do one cover at a time. So I'm just going to apply a thicker coat directly over the entire top of this notebook cover. So for the back piece, I am just mixing my chunky glitter directly into the epoxy. Now, more than I had planned did spill into my epoxy, so it was a thicker layer, so I just made sure that I covered it as much as I could, and then we're still going to go over that with a final coat. So I added an extra sticker on the back of mine, and then after that, I just went ahead and I applied another coat on top of that. Now, one thing to keep in mind when you are making these, if you want the back of your notebook cover to have the design on the outside, then you need to make sure that the holes are reversed and that you are not doing them the same way like I did here. So now we are just going to remove the paper backing from both of our covers, and then we're going to use our binder rings, and then we're going to just attach everything together with the paper, and that's about it. You'll see in the next video here that I did add on an extra little bookmark, and all I did for that was just the acrylic blank is covered in epoxy with glitter, and then I added a couple of the 20mm bubblegum beads, and then I attached a string around that or ribbon just to kind of tie everything together. And that's it. So now you have a fully refillable and customizable pen and notebook to start this year off right. I hope you guys enjoyed. Thank you so much for watching, and I can't wait to see what you create.